Hello, I'm Wraith Pocketwatch, and this is Watch Pocket Gaming, bringing you this exciting delayed coverage of the Giant in the Playground Blood Bowl League. I'm bad at pretending to be a sports commentator. On with the gameplay! Alright, Season 2, Week 3. Here I am playing the big friendly giants. I shouldn't have struggled to remember that. It's right on the screen there. Yeah, very sunny, so... -1 to all passing rolls. I don't remember if that makes any difference in the match. I certainly didn't expect it to, because neither vampires nor chaos dwarves are particularly prone to passing the ball. This was actually the second time that we tried to play this match. The first time, Winter's Heart, his computer crashed in like turn 2, so obviously we had to have the match reset and try again, which obviously it wouldn't have made that much of a difference. It did make a slight difference in that the first time one of my players on the front line got immediately knocked out because he had a niggling injury. And so it occurred to me, well, maybe I should put guys on the front line who don't have niggling injuries because they're less likely to get immediately removed from the pitch. But that was the only thing I changed about my setup. Yeah, so that's okay. This is a thing which Winter's Heart tends to do. He seems to be a general thing. He tries to score with his bull centaurs, which kind of makes sense. They're kind of the best players on the team. They're certainly the fastest because they have sprint and sure feet on top of movement 6. Strength 4, so it's hard to take the ball away from them. But of course only agility 2, so getting them the ball in the first place is problematic. Well, more so. But that said, like I said, that they're kind of the best players on the team, so it makes sense that you'd want to level them up early on. Okay, so here, like, I don't really understand why he put those 2 hobgoblins right in front of my guys, because they're just begging to be blocked. And now one of them has been knocked out, which was kind of a plan for me going into this game, because, I mean, obviously, as I've mentioned, he seems to prefer to score and do ball things with his bull centaurs, but still relevant that his only players with agility 3 are the hobgoblins, of which he has 5, and 4 of them were on the pitch. Yes, 4 of them. So I kind of just want to try and get rid of those so he'll have more difficulty actually moving the ball around. Doesn't entirely work out for me, but it's good in theory. They'll know I made that second block with Cat Blade mostly because being able to follow up then means that Cat is no longer in tackle zone of one of the what they call chaos dwarves. Which is the thing, because the Chaos Dwarves themselves they're pretty good at hitting things. They're also very sort of solid players, hard to get rid of. So I kind of want to avoid getting into a stand-up fight with them. I possibly shouldn't avoid them as much as I do, because like I could have hit them, but it's, on the other hand, it's not unreasonable to just try and avoid them and go for the squishier hobgoblins who make better targets. So yeah, really, it probably would have been a better idea to have sort of consolidated some of my positioning, like have more players together in pairs rather than just standing in ones. Because, like, in theory, one space, one space, one space, and so on it's a decent formation because it makes it difficult to dodge through, because anywhere that they could dodge through, they'd be going through 2 tackle zones. But these are Chaos Dwarves, they're not really going to try that. They're just going to hit me. And so, particularly given they have the Bull Centaurs, which are Strength 4, it doesn't make so much sense to just leave my Strength 3 players just standing there, waiting to be blitzed out of the way. Now, I'm not so sure about this though, because he's put his ball carrier. I mean, okay, so I can't really get a favourable block on the ball carrier now with Matthew Baker, but I will be able to get a favourable blitz if I so wish without too much difficulty. On the other hand, of course, he's doing the thing which, well, it's a fairly standard tactic for regular dwarves, and it also works for Chaos Dwarves reasonably well, because the Chaos Dwarf blockers are dwarf linemen in every detail. Of basically just walking his team up to stand in front of mine, daring me to hit them and injure myself. Oh, that was a misclick. But Bloodlust actually saved me from being screwed over by the misclick. Handily enough. Not entirely sure what the point of that was. I suppose, yeah, well, yes, actually, I do see what it was, because it's basically just, with the number of players he's put next to me, I don't want to just let my guys be hit. So that means that I have to hit them first, or run away, but it's a matter of choosing which of those options is more likely to work. Now, yes, of course, I want to try and hypnotise this Bull Centaur. It doesn't work. Not such a big deal. It's unfortunate, of course, that I don't have more skills that would be relevant to all these blocks that I'm making. Now I should be going for the blitz on the ball carrier next. If I put Buck Sellens onto the square down and left of him, yes, that square, then Sir Conrad can blitz. It'll be 2 dice. Block against no block. Wonderful. And the ball lands in possibly the worst possible place, although it's not a great place for the ball to be as far as he's concerned either. So I suppose he will have opportunities to get some blocks before to remove tackle zones on it. I don't know. But okay, so yes, one more tackle zone on it. Obviously a good idea. And yeah, actually he can in theory remove. Okay, he now in theory can't remove all of the tackle zones that are on the ball. Or yes, he can, but he'd need to use his blitz on it. And you'll note that Sir Roderick there did not block either of the Chaos Dwarves in front of him. The reason for that, I'm pretty sure, was... well, actually, it's partly because if he only pushed them, which, decent odds, since he doesn't have block and they do, he would be pushing them into base-to-base contact with one of my thralls, who are obviously less durable. But also, I mean, because he has a strength advantage on them, so it's difficult for them to get favourable blocks on him. And given obviously there was the possibility that the block would screw up. Oh, also he has no thralls next to him if he fails Bloodlust. But also, if the block had screwed up, then obviously he could have gotten an attack down, which would have just freed up Frederick there. Whereas now, Frederick cannot do anything really without making a difficult dodge. There are no dodges which aren't difficult for a Chaos Dwarf, really. Or hitting him, in which case he's not really going to do much of that part. But he has done the sensible thing here, in that, of course, he blitzed old Adam and knocked him over onto the ball, which has scattered it to a position much more favourable to him. I don't think... he may still be able to pick it up. I don't think Supersonic Steve has moved yet. But, okay, so yeah, he just leaves it there. Which is fair enough. I don't think I can really get at it there. I would say at this point that, like, I don't feel I made a mistake in allowing that, because there are some things you can't really plan for in Blood Bowl, because there's the random element, such as which way the ball scatters. The best thing that I could do was to put tackle zones on the ball where it was, and I did that. But random chance led to the ball being somewhere else now. Yes, now, if I were to stand up Old Adam, then Sir Mervyn could get 2 dice on the ball centaur, which I will do, though of course he will almost certainly be knocked over again next turn, since he's right in the middle of 5 Chaos Dwarf players. Well, 6 Chaos Dwarf players, 4 of whom are still standing up. But it's still one more thing he has to do, and therefore one less player who can be doing something else, such as things involving the ball. So at this stage, the general appearance of things is, it looks like he's going to have difficulty getting anywhere. You know, he should be able to retrieve the ball, but whether he can take it anywhere useful is another matter. Not entirely sure about following up there, exposing myself to being hit where Sir Conrad could have stayed back and almost certainly still been available for useful things in the following turn. But on the other hand, he's covering the people who can hit the guy who's next to the ball, so it's somewhat of a toss-up. However, at this point I definitely think this is not such a good idea, because I'm leaving no one kind of around Sir Conrad. Okay, I've managed to get the ball, that's good. But like, if Sir Conrad gets knocked over and he takes the ball back from me, which he quite possibly can do, then there's a clear line down the middle of the pitch there. On the other hand, I see doing best with the ball possession that I have acquired. I had completely forgotten this play. It wasn't that lucky. They were mostly pretty favourable dice rolls. On the other hand, he shouldn't have that difficult a time getting the ball back again, or at least knocking the ball loose. Getting it back is a slightly more difficult prospect, but and that's where that point of movement went. The unskilled thrall is not really worth using the apothecary on. because there could be worse injuries down the line. I don't remember if there are, but there could be. Still, -1 movement is annoying, but on one player, it's not a massive deal. And in fact, I still have Catblade on the roster, having leveled up and gotten block, and therefore being still more useful than my entirely unskilled thralls who still have 6 movement. It just makes for a thrall who is a good prospect to be put on the front line, I tend to feel, because from the front line, even if you don't get knocked over, you probably aren't going to have to move that far. Damn your tackle. Yes. The starting tackle on Chaos Dwarves and Dwarves is something that I find somewhat frustrating. I feel like it could debatably be said to be not the best idea in terms of the game balance. Just because it can completely screw over some enemy teams while having no effect on others, more than like any other starting skill that I can think of. So now, yeah, obviously, yeah, this is... I think I may see a mistake coming on my part, because I think what I'm going to do here is like put sort of an absolute focus on trying to retrieve the ball again, which it's sort of an intuitive thing. Having taken the ball away from my opponent, I feel like it is now mine, and therefore I should be trying to recover it. Whereas, like, in fact, I kicked to him. It's still technically his ball. I took it away and he took it back. Well, knocked it loose again and is about to take it back. So I should really still be on the defensive. So, I mean, making it more difficult for him to retrieve the ball, sure, that's sensible. But I really should be looking to my defensive line more to try and ensure that he can't go anywhere with the ball if he does get it back. And I mean, it doesn't really look like I will be able to retrieve it again. And of course, yeah, here we can see a potential issue with having these sorts of plays where you rush forward and take the ball out of the middle of the enemy team. Like, which obviously I'm not saying that one shouldn't do these sorts of things. They're obviously a pretty good idea. Oh yeah, but it divides up the team, which means that if they get the ball back, then your line's weaker. And this is weird. It says that this is 2 white dice. It's definitely not. because it's strength 4 against strength 3 with 2 assists. Therefore it's strength 4 against effective strength 5. It's 2 red dice. But the game displayed it wrong. And that's why it took me a while to actually do it. Really, I shouldn't even try to take advantage of little game glitches like that, but I mean, I might have done it anyway. Obviously I was considering it anyway. But yeah, like I don't understand why there are these weird like, little glitches in the game which make the rules be inconsistent. Yeah. And yeah, now he has the ball again. Yeah, that's fair enough. Okay, like, I still kind of don't get this. Why? Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. He was going to blitz that guy. If he was just going to leave his ball carrier next to one of my guys, his ball carrier, who is not great at dodging, with the blitz, it makes more sense. I don't know if that's where I would want to put the ball carrier. I might have wanted to move him just like straight back the way he came, to put him back in the middle of all of your guys. That, yeah, moving little Leon over to there certainly makes a difference. Oh, incidentally, I invite you to observe the amusing name scheme of the big friendly giants. The name scheme being based on the idea that hobgoblins are small, chaos dwarves are fat, and bull centaurs are fast. Aha! One more hobgoblin off the pitch. So this, as far as I'm concerned, is still actually going pretty well, as long as I can keep my defense set up. Yeah. So, what's going on now? Yes, well, this is the thing. Getting past my guys is not specifically pretty hard. Getting past any guys is pretty hard if they are well set up. However, I do have somewhat of a problem, given that, of course, 4 of my players are stuck on the wrong side of the pitch at this point. Which I suppose is an advantage to him moving over that way, even though I was just questioning it before. I have no rerolls left. So, yeah. Alright, so I'm trying to come up with a way of establishing this defensive formation while moving the minimum number of vampires, just in case of bloodlust, because, well, if I want to put Sir Roderick somewhere else, which, okay, so apparently I am going to do that, but okay, yes, actually that does make sense. And doing it here because it's still 2 dice for me, and this kind of protects. Well, if I'd stayed there, then it would have protected old Adam more by having someone next to him. But I don't agree in retrospect with where I put Little Leon to, because he can now block Matthew Baker, which opens up the sidelines. I suppose, of course, yes, I have to point out that although, as I said, although, as I said, I had players stuck on the wrong side of the pitch, a bunch of his players were also basically on the wrong side of the pitch. However, yes, this is where the problem sets in. I focused too much on directly getting to the ball carrier and stopping him moving forward where he was, completely neglecting the possibility that he could just go somewhere else immediately. I mean, this could have been even worse. Potentially, he could have made the handoff to the other ball centaur, Quagmire the Quick. Obviously, not the easiest thing, agility 2, but he could have done it. And then thus gotten much further down the pitch. As it is, I'm still a little bit screwed. Not too screwed. He's still decently in range. But this is a part of the match that I kind of remember, where basically I end up, well, kind of both of us, as I recall, end up having to do a sequence of somewhat improbable things. Actually, no, it might be just me. I have to do a sequence of improbable things to try and stop him scoring, and I don't actually remember if it works or not. I remember who wins this match. I don't remember the actual result. Not sure about that. It might have been better to leave him next to Sir Mervyn for that immediate additional difficulty in dodging him. Would have made things slightly more difficult for Sir Conrad as well. Whereas, yeah, putting him there, I can still just do this. Of course, yes, standing up players first, always a good idea. And yes, of course, checking. He is in fact already in scoring range, because he's a Bull Centaur. However, it's important to move players down ready to be useful in the event that he does not score next turn. And there we go. So that was the first somewhat improbable thing. And the ball goes out the sidelines, of course. And in fact goes to the exact place where Sir Conrad was before. This is where I slightly regret moving those players to be in useful positions in the event that he didn't score next turn, because actually, yeah, of course the thing is, if I'd only pushed him, then that would have put him out of scoring range. and so those two players would have been definitely relevant. And I figure it's still worth taking the risk of trying to pick up the ball, and I succeed. But I can't move away, I can't move out of the tackle zone because I have to bite the thrall. I could pass. This is a valid option. Despite the fact that it's very sunny. Yeah, okay. Doing it. Note, a relevant point, of course. I had to bite the... this is a thing about Bloodlust. I had to bite the thrall before throwing the pass. The reason for that, I might have explained this in a previous video. I don't remember. Regardless, I'm explaining it again. If so, the reason for that is so that I can't dodge the Bloodlust, basically. Because if I was able to just throw the pass, then bite the thrall, then if I passed to someone who was in the end zone... He's really racking up the injuries at this point. Regeneration did not work. Yeah, if I was passing to someone who was in the end zone, then I would throw the pass, make the catch, and then I would have scored, so Bloodlust would not actually take effect. So that's why that is. I mean, I don't think it would really be that overpowered to let you do that, but obviously they just didn't want that to be a thing. They didn't want it to be possible to circumvent the Bloodlust requirement like that. Yeah, now I'm a bit screwed, I would say. We're back at the point where, yeah, as I said, I'm basically going to have to do improbable things. Because that Bull Centaur is out of range of Sir Conrad. Even if he wasn't pretty well marked. That is guy out the sidelines. So yeah, hooray! That is useful for me. And in fact, in his position I would not have made that block, because by just not making the block, it would have meant that if I wanted to move Richard Dauntless over here, as I have just done, I would have needed to dodge. So there's one more dice roll I would have had to make. And now, yes, the problem of thinking which is more risky. Should I make the blitz only one dice rather than two, or should I make it going for it to make it two dice? And I go for the one dice with more tackle zones around. And it works! Improbable things, they work. As I believe I mentioned in my last video, you should really think, and I actually got the ball now, you should really think about how can this go wrong for me, because Yeah, because... Oh right, yeah, I obviously was counting squares from the end zone there, I think. So Sir Jasper is now just in scoring range. Of course, I'm having to risk a bunch of bloodlusts here. Because I just can't get the thralls in the right places. Yes, as I said in the last video, you should really look at how can this go wrong for me, because at this sort of point where my only option is to do something desperate and improbable, I'm going to do something desperate and improbable. You can't rely on me not doing it because it's unlikely to work, since I don't actually have another option. And based on that check, it looks like I do still have enough players to field a full 11-man team in the next drive. Of course, that was my 10-7, so of course that's why I put someone into scoring range. I'm not sure if he has any... Nope, Supersonic Steve is in scoring range, but it's pretty unlikely to... Yeah, okay. He does not manage to dodge a Chaos Dwarf. I'm not really sure why he was trying. Really, all he could do there was pick up the ball, throw it to Supersonic Steve, and hope that it worked. I don't really have a way to blitz little Eon out of the way, so I have to just go for the rather unlikely option, and I fumble it. Wasn't really expecting it to work, but yeah. So yeah, as I said, a sequence of improbable plays. But oh right, he wasn't trying to dodge, his centaur was blocking his view. Makes more sense, I suppose. But yes, in the theory, this is good for me, because I've gotten through the first half in which I was kicking, and he has not scored. So now I'm receiving, so I should be able to score and win 1-0. Of course, it's rarely that simple. But, I mean, I can even still field 11 players. I only have 3 of my vampires, but, the one I lost is the one with no skills. So, what could possibly go wrong? I don't actually remember what could possibly go wrong, but there are various things. Unfortunately, he does still have a whole 4 hobgoblins on the pitch. That's unfortunate. I would like him to have less than 4 hobgoblins on the pitch. Yeah. Deciding not to take full advantage of my front line hitting on the first turn. ignoring the guy in the middle, basically because I didn't want to put a vampire on the front line, specifically because I only had 3. I think if I'd still had Sir Roderick, then I would have put, because I wanted 1 vampire to be available to pick up the ball, and 1 in each wide zone. So if I'd still had Sir Roderick on the pitch, then I'm pretty sure I would have also hit Ample Albert in the middle there. Oh yeah, that's why I followed up. Wanted to put all the hurt on the hobgoblins, of course. Leaving some bits of my formation a little open. Yeah, one might say that I'm sort of tunnel visioning this whole kill the hobgoblins tactic of mine. But it could work out. Okay, and yeah, being that improves things somewhat, and obviously I'm being quite cautious about where I take the ball, because I've got my ball carrier so far back, the Chaos Dwarves can't get to him. Yeah, again with the having 1 player, where putting them in 2s would work better. Oh well, okay, that evens that out. So Mad How is still on his own. That's kind of my weak point. But as I said, and of course, I guess I'm sort of aiming for the left-hand side here, so I care less about the right. See, this is great. He's used up his blitz and not done anything with it. My formation is still fine. Conrad is even still in position to beat up a hobgoblin next turn, should I so desire. Yeah, I'm definitely aiming for the left side here, which it looks like it is an idea. At the moment there are only 3 enemy players there, and 2 of them are in tackle zones, so I can hit them immediately. 4 players. Still, that line of his is decent. There's nowhere I can get through without dodging or hitting someone. Yeah, that's pretty bad luck. Failing and going for it with a bull centaur, he has sure feet. You expect that to work in general. But now, of course, I can move up and work my way along the line of people that I want to hit. Still very much targeting the hobgoblins above all else. It is kind of a tunnel visioning thing, which I would pick out as a potential issue with my play here. Because, I mean, yeah, if I can get rid of his hobgoblins, it'd be nice, but what really matters is where I can take the ball. Alright, so I had no other use for my blitz, so I use it here to ensure that I will be able to bite a thrall after beating up this hobgoblin. And knocking him out. Wonderful. And yeah, the left-hand side is looking more and more appealing. It's unfortunate that I had to bring Sir Conrad back to bite a thrall there, because he was nicely positioned, sort of forming a bit of a, I guess, like a wedge to make it harder for them to come round in front. And now, yes, Bloodlust is the problem. I think the best option here is still to go over the left side and bite Rory, but it looks like I might do something else. I really shouldn't. I suppose I could... yeah. Could... no, why? Why would I do that? That just opens me up completely. Oh, right, yes, because now I move Rory over here to replace him. And so my position is not completely opened up. Yeah, I mean, this means that my sort of left side pressure is lessened. But I can get back over there fairly quickly. On the other hand, I don't know, it's bringing Sir Conrad back and having to bring Rory across. Basically, it's sort of giving him a chance to catch up when I haven't actually gotten that far. This is still looking pretty good for me, though. I mean, yeah, he's down to 3 hobgoblins on the pitch. 9 players total. I also have 9 players total. So... yeah, I suppose it's pretty evenly matched, and I haven't made any significant progress, so I mean, there's nothing I would say is wrong with my positioning, but it's hard to say that, oh yeah, my positioning is so great. Now this I would think is a possible mistake on his part, because Sir Mervyn didn't really matter there. Because, like I said, I'm going for the left side here. I suppose if it could have been like in the last drive, if he'd just completely tried to cover me on the left side, then I could have just run over to the right, so he can't ignore it. But still, I don't know if I would say committing 3 players in addition to the one who is lying on the floor, just to dealing with, you know, those two guys of mine. I don't know if that's necessarily the most efficient use of his players. But once again, I'm stuck in this position where I can't hit all the people that have been presented to me. But this left side again. Supersonic Steve, the only guy in that wide zone. Yeah, why would I push him that way? I'm not sure. I think, oh yeah, because I was going to not follow up, and so I wanted him to still be in a tackle zone, I think, was the sort of relevant point there. And now... yeah. Damn bloodlust. And I reroll it and fail it again. Happens so often. Well, actually it doesn't happen that often, because I don't re-roll bloodlust that often. But it happens a fair amount. And yeah, and so now this is... if I stay there and bite Martin, then that's a precarious position. If I move up and bite Richard, then that's a less precarious position, but I'm taking out... like, Richard is potentially more significant in the long run because he's at the front of my formation and he's less replaceable on those grounds. But it... you know, putting Sir Jasper next to Sir Conrad still probably the safer option. And okay, yeah, I can actually... I could, in theory, have actually gotten someone round to replace Richard in the formation there, if I had rolled a 3. Yeah, so... yeah, now this is looking much more like problems for me, because it's... well, yeah, it's the general thing which seems somewhat in other matches that, you know, as you know, a cage, a formation, a team in general moves forwards with the ball, the difficulties of keeping the ball carrier screened off sort of take their toll, and so you end up leaving players behind. So as you move further forwards, you have less players and your ball carrier gets more exposed. And this is not necessarily such a big deal if I had reached this sort of stage of not that many players to screen my ball carrier by the time that I was, say, 7 squares into the enemy half. It wouldn't be that big a deal, because that would mean I was in scoring range already. And it's like, well, I can't really screen my ball carrier, but I can just score the touchdown. As it is, I reached this point and I'm 2 squares into the enemy half, and... so now... the ball is really not safe. At this point, switching to the right side is looking increasingly like it could be a decent idea, or into the middle. The middle is also a viable option, particularly given that very sunny means a pass would be unlikely to work. And yeah, it looks like I've come to this conclusion pretty quickly. Now, how far can Sir Jasper actually get? With a going for it, yeah. With a going for it, he could get to directly behind Stephen North, and that might not be such a bad place to be. Because I could maybe just about cover everything. Or I could hand off the ball to a thrall who could take it further up the pitch, but probably be more exposed. Tricky decisions. And I can't necessarily move other thralls up too much, because some of them would then be in the way of where I'd want to be taking Sir Jasper. And yes, okay, so I decided this was a better option to allow me to get Sir Jasper further. That's an interesting thing, actually. Formation-wise, it might have made more sense to follow up and have Sir Conrad cause more problems to the Chaos Dwarves. But I didn't. But on the other hand, Matthew Baker is a more useful player to me. And yeah, this. I mean, that could end up pretty safe if I was able to dodge the thralls decently well. Okay, yes, checking if Bloodlust was going to screw me. It did not. And now I guess I'm going to go for this. And rerolling Bloodlust worked. That's nice. Because yeah, of course I really needed him to. Okay, that's yeah. My Bloodlust is kind of doing all the work for him. It does that sometimes. That's how the team is somewhat balanced or imbalanced in the favour of the other teams. Yeah, like, you may note, I could have dodged Mad How and Rory the Idiot around to form like the back of a cage, the corners behind Sir Jasper, but that would only really be defending him from the Chaos Dwarves, who are already in their tackle zone, and as I may have mentioned, Chaos Dwarves are bad at dodging. So, given that I wasn't so confident about my own dodging ability, particularly after I'd already used my reroll, I figured that was it was safer to hope that he wouldn't roll the good dice than to try and roll them myself. That's yeah. Of course, this is one of those situations where, my team having been somewhat thinned out, I really obviously didn't want to take too many risks. Blood lost. Blood lost. Yeah, no, wait. My team having been thinned out, although I didn't want to take too many risks, I kind of felt like I had to. Because I didn't have the time to play it slow and safe. Because I knew that Sir Jasper could get blitzed there, so in some ways, the both down was... I couldn't have hoped for much better than that. I could have hoped for Sir Conrad to succeed on his bloodlust, however, because, yeah, if he could have gotten rid of that hobgoblin with the tackle zone on the ball, then I could have picked it up and run forwards and been so much closer to the end zone. As it is, I can still try to do that, but don't know how well it'll work. Backwards is, yeah, definitely the way that I want to push him. And I do want to follow up for more tackle zones on the Bull Centaur there. And, yeah, also because it allows me to do this for a slightly easier dodge and fail the pickup. I rolled a 1, so it didn't matter about the tackle zone. I mean, this still doesn't look awful for me. But it's still a position where it seems feasible that I could retrieve the ball and get up the pitch, but it's also entirely feasible that he could get the ball and completely get away from me. That's not right. Yeah, I suppose actually, yeah, that is reasonable. Although, I mean, yeah, Mini-Max there could have been the one to pick up the ball and take it somewhere. Whereas now they'll be left to a Bull Centaur, if anyone. A Bull Centaur who would have to dodge to reach it. Or yeah, that hobgoblin. The journeyman hobgoblin. But it can still win you the game. And we're moving back towards me having to do improbable things. That old problem. Still, yeah, if he'd stood up Supersonic Steve, then 11 Ebenezer could have done that same blitz, and then Minimax, an actual member of the team who would keep the star player points he got. Glad that I saved my apothecary. Yeah, Minimax could have picked up the ball, and I suppose he wouldn't have gone quite as far, but it's not like Fouling with a bull centaur, I would never want to take that risk. Risking losing one of your best players to maybe get rid of one of my best players. So there's not that big a disparity between how good they are. And yes, improbable things, risking bloodlust, failing to roll a 2, and I lose. Well, I suppose I did roll a 2. I rolled a 2 for bloodlust, but then couldn't roll another one for the dodge. But yeah, as I said, I lose at this point, basically, because that hobgoblin can get completely out of my reach. He doesn't need to put in as much effort as he is. He still has all his rerolls. I do think I probably messed up at certain points. But I also feel like some of this really did sort of just... Yeah, okay, heading off to the Bull Centaur, so he'll actually get to keep the star player points. I still can't really stop it. This means that I have a chance to stop it, in theory. Not a very good chance, but a chance. Let's go. Yeah. Yeah, I do feel like some of this was just determined by me rolling poorly, in addition to me making stupid mistakes. But I mean, really, I definitely messed up in the first half, and if I hadn't messed up so much in the first half, then I could have been possibly up 1-0 coming into the second half. I think I definitely did sort of tunnel vision his hobgoblins a bit too much. Why would you foul at this point? With a mercenary? Fouling gives you no star player points, so its only purpose is to remove important players. And I have no turns left in which to make any use of those important players. And even if you did still get star player points from it, which you used to in previous versions of the rules, that was a mercenary, so you wouldn't get to keep those star player points. They wouldn't benefit you in any way. So why? Yeah. It makes literally no difference. Except you might injure one of my guys. It's mean. Yeah, I don't know if I really picked out that many mistakes that I made in the second half. I'm sure there were some. So I probably could have made something better out of my bad situation. There's also the fact that I do have these occasions where things start to go wrong, and I sort of panic and think, okay, I have to just run up the pitch as quickly as possible, which then leads to me, losing the ball, where otherwise I could have maybe kept it safe for a bit longer and had a better opportunity, or at least, like, I could possibly have salvaged a 0-0 draw, so that might have been better. Regardless, that is how the game went.